Hey everybody, it's Sid Bolton here, and today I am reviewing the Radio Shack LCD Stack Challenge game. Now, if you can't tell already by looking at this video, this is a handheld version of Tetris, but of course it's a knockoff, and it's kind of interesting because of course Radio Shack, which is a division of Tandy and also the parent company Intertan in Canada for sure, was actually producing a knockoff game, because this is quite clearly not licensed to the Tetris company or Blue Planet Software or anybody else officially involved with Tetris back in the day. Of course, it doesn't have the name Tetris, but you can just, looking at the unit right there, you can pretty much tell that it is a Tetris clone. This actually came out in 1991, so about 7 or so years after the official game came out first on DOS computers. Now, of course, this actually requires some batteries, some AA batteries. So I'm going to put those in here, and I hope it actually works, because I actually test this to see if it was going to work or not. So it's kind of looking a little funky here, but turning it on, it's not quite coming on the way I'm expecting it to. It looks like there's something going on. Oh! Now we've got something going here. Hey, it's lines. They're going up, up, up and away, though. Not sure what's happening here. This is interesting. Something's happening. I'm pressing buttons. It's not quite... Oh, it's changing the levels. Okay, so I can set the difficulty level. I'm going to go down to 1 here. And how many lines? Yeah, and oh, there we go. It's actually working now. So there we go. This is definitely Tetris. There's some very simple sounds that you're going to be hearing maybe in the background there, just kind of muted a little bit. No music, of course. This is a little simple LCD screen, so they didn't have anything like music to go along with that. And you know, that's, I think, one of the things, although the original didn't really have much music to speak of, I think one of the things that made the Game Boy version of Tetris so successful, at least in my mind, was the awesome music that would happen while you were playing. And this is kind of a little bit on the boring side in terms of, yeah, the blocks are coming down, but they all look exactly the same. Things seem to be coming down at a fairly reasonable pace, but other than that, it's pretty much straight Tetris. There's no variant. You can actually, of course, move the piece that's falling left and right. You can actually make it go more quickly down, which is a much appreciated feature, especially for those that are impatient. And there we go. We've got a line cleared. I don't know whether I'll actually be able to get a Tetris here or not while I'm playing, but which is of course 4 lines. If you're not familiar with how Tetris works, 4 lines would be the maximum you'd be able to clear at one time. So yeah, it's what can I say about this? It's functional. As I'm doing this now, this is about over 25 years old, this piece of electronics, so the fact that it still works is pretty awesome. But of course the electronics in here are also pretty simple. You can see at the top of the screen there's a little bit of shadowing going on, where you can see the inactive pieces kind of coming through, so that's a little bit unfortunate. I'm going to try to test out some of the features here and turn the sound off. So if the sound is getting pretty annoying, which it kind of does get pretty annoying after a while, you can turn that off. And button's a little bit sticky. And then it's got a pause feature. Wow, that's saying something. Able to stop the game. So yeah, which is actually kind of important if you do need to have a bio break or something like that, or if your boss walks in or you get a phone call or something like that. But yeah, all things told, this is a pretty basic Tetris clone. It does actually, as I'm playing it, it does remind me of why Tetris is so great, why Tetris, if you don't know, is actually the best selling video game of all time. And what is interesting to me is that while officially it's the best selling game of all time, I wonder how many units have actually been sold like this that are not official units. And so if all the copies that were sold were official Tetris games, then I can just imagine that the sales numbers would be even more staggering. So, yeah, that's still pretty interesting. But, yeah, so this one, again, came out in 1991, was sold at Radio Shack stores. I don't know what the initial retail price was. I imagine that it was probably somewhere in the $20 range or so for this. And, of course, used batteries, which Radio Shack, used to always ask you for your phone number when you bought batteries so they could keep track of you. Yeah, so it used regular batteries, which is kind of interesting because a lot of these LCD type games back in the day used to use the more like the watch batteries or the 2032 batteries or whatever that number is. That's on a lot of those standard medical devices batteries that a lot of these LCD games use, because honestly they don't consume a ton of power, so it's quite possible that that these batteries will last, for quite a few hours, if you were ever to get that far. And that's one thing about Tetris, right? It's very, very addictive. Or I'm sorry, not Tetris. LCD Stack Challenge is the name of this game, although really it's Tetris by any other name for sure. But yeah, very, very simple. Comes in a box with a manual. The manual, which I showed just briefly there, is got English and French on it. Talks about the points and how that all works, but it's really kind of making it a little bit more complicated than it is. I think now what I'm going to do, I'm getting a little bit higher here, but as I get towards the end of this review, I'm just going to start making some mistakes on purpose here so that we can see what happens when we get closer to the top. See, I can't help it, I have to try. It's the compulsiveness in me here trying to actually clear these lines. I think that's one of the reasons why Tetris is so addictive. It just, sort of feeds on, sometimes our wants and desires to have things be in order. And things are getting a little faster now. But yeah, I want to get to the top to see what happens. So maybe I'll start stacking stuff up. See, I can't help myself. Oh, now I've done it. Oh, come on. All right, here we go. Let's just stack it up and see what happens here. Okay, here we go. We're getting to the top. And oh, number one. I think that's number one. I have to turn my head sideways here. Oh, it actually has a high score. Now, there is something interesting. I'm just going to put in LCD here. How do I finish? Not sure. Anyways, wow. Tetris game with a high score on an LCD thing. That's, you know what? That's actually a little bit better than I thought. So this is a pretty neat device. This is LCD Stack Challenge from Radio Shack. And I'm Sid Bolton from the Personal Computer Museum.